Today, I'd like to make a video where I'm just going over what the true role of a CEO is. You know, a lot of people think when they're starting their business that their job is to do everything. So I've asked AI a question, you know, that if I scroll up, you can see there's no prompt behind this. I'm not saying like try to optimize the conversion of the CEO operating system, try to motivate people or encourage people to buy it. I just literally have just asked a simple question. What is the role of a CEO in a small business that is scaling, which is where a lot of my clients or leads are actually in right now. So 6 and 7 figure service businesses that actually want to grow their business. Now, what I want to do with this is I want to read through this, make it a very quick, simple video. And I just want to see like where what I do, where what work I provide or what services I provide in the CEO operating system actually align with what is the true role of a CEO, right? So essentially my goal with this video is just to see like whether or not I have any gaps in the service that I'm providing in order to be the real CEO that can actually scale a business. Now, this video is for people that are looking to grow their business, you know, or save time and optimize their workflows. So if that isn't you, like feel free to just click off. I don't want to waste your time and you be here just listen to some idiot that hasn't even had a shower this morning, just talk rubbish. So with that being said, let's get into it. The role of a CEO in a scaling small business is fundamentally a role of transition. You are moving from doing everything, which is the operator, to leading the people who do everything, the architect. Now, whilst I do agree with that, I do think that you do need to position yourself or reposition yourself away from just doing everything. I don't think that's truly what your goal is, right? When it says like leading the people who do everything, your job is still to optimize. Your job is to be the architect, but it's not just to lead people. Your job is also to look and to see what the next steps are, correct? Like if you're just leading people, then you're essentially just forcing yourself to stay stagnant, right? So it's like just leading people who are doing everything. It's just like, all right, cool. Well, these are the SOPs. These are the things that I need to do. Whereas what I want to do is, lead people, optimize everything, make sure everything is time and energy efficient so that you can start focusing, so that you have a self-sustaining and optimizing business so that you can focus on growth, right? Now, in my personal opinion, I think networking is a massive, massive lever for growth. Working and discussing like conversations with people who are actually at the next stage, who are actually trying to grow with you so that you can bounce off of each other. And on top of that, growth strategy, right? So it's not just about leading the people, it's also about growth strategy, okay? Scaling is often the most dangerous phase for a CEO because the skills that got you here, which are grit, hands-on involvement, and speed, can actually keep you from getting there, which is process, delegation, strategy. I fully agree. I don't think you should lose some of these skills like hands-on involvement, speed, and grit. I do think you should encourage those, especially within your team. But like, for example, something like grit. I have the book, Grit, Angela Duckworth. Incredible book if you guys do ever want to read it. The thing is, these things don't get lost. They just get repurposed into what your next level is. You know, I kind of describe it like Pokemon, and forgive me for the weird analogy. In Pokemon or in any kind of like video game, you just keep leveling up, right? And eventually you level up to a point where you can evolve your character. And when I mean evolve your character, I mean like you play different games, you've evolved into another beast, right? And so what I want to do is the shift that I make in the CEO operating system is that I help people eventually they've leveled up, they've got all of the stamina, they've got all the bulk, and now cut them into a new beast that focuses on higher leverage activities, which is growth strategy, networking, etc., fixing the core bottlenecks. That is what I want to do, right? So things like grit, I don't want you to lose. I don't want you to lose the hustle. I don't want you to lose all of the energy that got you to where you are. However, what I do want you to do is understand that it needs to be repositioned and reused in a new avenue, right? In a new, more powerful avenue that takes you forwards even more. So now there's a breakdown of the core roles. So number one is the visionary and the navigator. I love this. This is fully aligned with what I do. In the early days, survival was a strategy. As you scale, you need a map. The CEO must shift from reactive decision-making to proactive planning. Of course, guys, come on. That's inevitable. When you're in the beginning, you are testing. You have to test. You have to keep evolving, but you are reacting to whatever the market pushes your way. Eventually, you get to a point where you know what the market is looking at. You know what your intuition can start to slowly digest little pieces of information to the point where it becomes natural to you. You now need to look forward. You now need to do proactive planning. This is the growth strategy. This is the networking that I'm talking about. Now, in order to do that, you need to clarify your North Star. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know how important the North Star is to me, right? You must clearly articulate not just what the company is doing, but where it will be in 3 to 5 years. This alignment prevents silos as new departments form. Now, I'm unsure in my previous examples, like I've worked with over 40 people, we've never really created new departments. We might have reorganized things in ways that make more sense. For example, marketing and sales, finance, everything in this siloed or kind of independent stages before we make them interdependent and connect it all up. But the bit about the 3 to 5 years is super important because each of your team members need to understand where they're going and why they're moving towards it. Why is it important to you? Why is it important to them? You need to be able to align all of this together, because if you're not able to do that, the teams will just start doing everything. You'll start doing everything, like moving in every different direction, whilst it might not actually be important for you. Right? So I need you to create a vision, an identity, not just a character, but an identity for your business as well. Because what this does is, as I'm looking towards my identity, as I'm looking towards my vision, my North Star, everything else that doesn't take me towards this North Star becomes crystal clear, right? So if, for example, my North Star is that I want to transition from this consulting business into a like group program, let's just say, for example, one day I want to do that, then what I need to do is I need to slowly position myself away from this done for you, this one-on-one bespoke service, towards starting to build offers and packaging towards that. I need to learn how to do that. I need to recreate my offers. I need to speak to new types of customers. I need to speak to leads. I need to start to create the conversations around it. So what I'm trying to say is this one North Star, if you can create it crystal clear, it starts to define how you and your team operate, okay? And whilst slowly in the next stages of the CEO operating system, you get out of delivery, you need to be able to make sure that your team and your automations are aligned to this one vision. And even your automations, guys, seriously, when I create the automations for you, a part of it becomes the system prompt. And in this system prompt, it's kind of like the brain, the psychology, the principles that it follows. I need to be able to define in your systems prompt where exactly your vision is in the next 3 to 5 years, so that my automation can self-optimize around that one thing, okay? Next thing, culture keeper. As new hires flood in, the original culture often dilutes. You must become the chief culture officer, explicitly defining values and ensuring they are hired for and rewarded. Agree. Everyone has different personality types, right? So I am an ENFJ. So I like being a visionary. I enjoy it. Like, to me, it gives me fulfillment. It fuels my fire. Now, not everyone is like that. So whilst it does say that you must be the chief culture officer, I don't think everyone is well suited towards that role. Now, ideally you are, but what I'm trying to say is you do need to keep your culture intact, but it doesn't always fall onto your shoulders. There are different ways to make sure that your culture is crystal clear, very hot, make sure that it's burning through every one of your employees, but there are ways to do it for each of your employees. So if, for example, you are quite shy or introverted, it doesn't really necessarily matter. And number 3, saying no. I think I briefly touched on this. In a startup, you say yes to every opportunity. In a scale-up, the CEO's job is to protect focus by saying no to distractions that don't align with the core scaling strategy. Exactly the point that I was making earlier. Your North Star, your vision, your direction, your clarity in your life and your business is used to determine whether or not the activities that you are undertaking actually move you towards this goal. And if it doesn't, your job is to say no. Okay, you have to prioritize your time and energy like it is the most important asset. Okay, right now you're making money for the time that you're putting in. Eventually, you need to get to a point where the time that you're getting, the money that you're getting for the time and energy you put in starts to increase. That's one of the core metrics that I drive for all of the clients that I work with, right? I want to make them earn more and work less. And the way you do that is by leveraging your time, leveraging your energy, focusing on them as core assets that you want to optimize in every single day, every single asset, every single function of your business. Okay, it's not optimizing for money, it's optimizing for time and energy around the outcome of income. Oh, that was actually a bar. Outcome of income, meaning the outcome of profit. Okay, time and energy is what you optimize in order to get the outcome of money. Right, that's a point that I'd like to say. Let's see how much there is. Not much. We can do this in a short video. Number 2, the organizational architect. You are no longer building a product, you are building the machine that builds the products. Correct. That's what the CEO operating system is, right? You are architecting. So in phase 1 is the vision. Phase 2 is removing all of the noise. So again, looking at saying no, doing all of these things. Phase 3 is building the systems, right? Understand what it is that actually drives your business forwards. Finance, sales, marketing, lifetime value. What are the things that you need to be optimizing around in order to grow your business and turn it into a self-scaling asset? Okay, so design the structure. You must decide on the organizational hierarchy, who reports to whom, where are the bottlenecks. Now, whilst that detail is important for who reports to who, it's less about who reports to who and more about what the roles and responsibilities are within the teams and how they connect with each other. That's the interdependentness, right? So I don't want to touch on this too much. It is quite advanced information, but remember I was saying about the pillars before. So clarifying marketing, sales, finance into each individual pillars. What we want to do is we want to get to a point where each of these pillars are optimizing themselves. So they're self-optimizing, but they're also interdependent on each other. So finance communicates with marketing, marketing communicates with sales, everyone communicates with delivery to make sure that the delivery is right. For example, marketing. If I'm in a conversation with a lead and we're understanding what their bottlenecks are, it's important for the person who's delivering the work, the fulfillment, the delivery, to understand what the pain points and the bottlenecks that I've discovered in marketing are for that client. This is where interdependentness comes in, and this is where roles and responsibilities are important in order to create an organization where communication is effective and clear. Hiring the leadership team. This is arguably your most critical task. You need to hire functional experts, VP of sales, head of product, who are smarter than you in their respective field. Of course, like in order to grow, you're going to need to find the people that can support you. However, I would caveat that in some businesses, especially the service businesses that I work with, it's less about finding the people that are the correct fit, who are smarter than you, and more about optimizing your systems and your assets, and hopefully even people as well that can run that. I do think hiring a leadership team can become quite expensive, and I have found things like automations and systems and building AI coaches, or even just working with someone similar to me, like a growth expert, like a fractional CEO, COO. I urge you to look up fractional COOs and CIOs, everything. There are cheaper ways to get this leadership team in place. And if you can optimize your teams and their performance around outcomes, then I don't really think you need a leadership team unless you're looking to scale and you're finding a bottleneck in your own knowledge, right? Then you need someone that's a bit smarter than you to step in. But, ChatGPT, Gemini, they can provide quite a lot of information yourself. If you can use them effectively, they can provide you the information that you're looking for. And the final thing, firing yourself. This one looks interesting. You must systematically identify roles that you are currently fulfilling. Sorry, I just got a message. You must systematically identify roles that you're currently filling, handling key accounts, running payroll, and hire or delegate to remove yourself from them. Of course, right? So that's part 4 of my system, automation and delegation. We're looking to see all of the work that you're doing, the time and energy audit that we do in phase 2, when we're trying to find out where your time and energy is being wasted so we can remove the noise. And we're seeing what remains, from what is high value, from what actually takes your business forwards. How do we find a way to strip away the low value work, manage your time and energy so that we can focus on the things like growth strategy and networking? So yeah, firing yourself from the low value, but not everything. You got to make sure that you prioritize the work that, one, you're good at. So that what is your unique selling point as an individual, as your unique leadership style. And then 2, making sure that you still fulfill all of your high leverage, high ROI activities. Okay, don't forget that, guys. Don't fire yourself from everything, only the things that are stopping you from actually growing your business. Number 3, the resource allocator. Scaling consumes cash and resources rapidly. Agreed, right? Ad spend for service businesses is a massive thing. Speaking to coaches, consultants, people like myself, like these are all costly things. The CEO must ensure the tank does not run dry while the engine is revving. Capital strategy. So whether it's fundraising, managing cash flow, or reinvesting profits, you decide where the money goes to generate the highest ROI. Now, I think without data, this does become very difficult. You do need to know which activities are creating the highest ROI, but you also need to be in a place of clarity and peace. Think about it like this. How often do you hear as a service business, as a consultant, that you need to be thinking about personal branding, right? You hear it all the time. Personal branding does not have an ROI. You cannot just track the return that you get from personal branding. You won't get it. Like, your brand is a key identity. It is a way to connect with your audience that lets them actually want to buy from you, right? But that doesn't get carried out in a lot of different metrics. So 1, there are 2 strategies for this. You can either create tacit, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Tacit measurements or tacit outcomes that you can then start to proxy with real results. So for example, I have had a client where personal branding was a big thing for them. They had a lot of audience, like massive engagement. So we tried to proxy conversations and questions in our type form, which is kind of like a qualification basis to say, like, just get questions and some sort of knowledge in terms of how the personal brand is impacting the overall business, right? So I don't want to go into too much detail, but there are ways to proxy informal information and to qualify and quantify them into something that you can track. So one is tracking them, but two is just sitting in that place of clarity to know, like, logically, my personal brand is actually, even though it's low ROI or I can't track the ROI, it is causing me or is helping me succeed in my business, right? So you need to have the peace, you need to have the clarity, but you also need to try and find ways to track things that are important to your business. This is all stuff that we can discuss in the future. Resource balancing. You must act as the referee between departments. Completely agree, guys. Completely agree. Sales might want more budget for ads while product needs more engineers. You make the final call and on where the limited resources are deployed. Now, this goes back to phase number one, clarifying the North Star. You will not be able to make decisions on where those resources need to be allocated effectively if you don't know where you're heading. If you do not know where your North Star is, for example, that example I gave before about turning into a group course or whatever shit I said, if you do not know where you're going, then you won't know that product needs more money, it needs more engineers for us to build out this group program. Whereas sales wants more budget for ads because they're trying to test more, they're trying to grow this current program. So because in this example, my strategy is to shift towards the group course, I know that product needs more budget than sales right now. And then I need to align everyone around what it is that we're doing and reposition and re-strategize what it is that we're moving forwards with. Okay, so but that all comes from the North Star, which is why the vision is so important. Okay, guys, whenever I used to work with my old business, the one that actually scaled to 72K per month, insanely high margins. The reasons that I didn't like it so much is because all of my clients were coming to me because they just wanted to automate things. You know, it was just about genuinely just working less, earning more, just getting into this new day and age of AI automation and using like AI. So I didn't enjoy it that much, if I'm completely honest. And the reason is because there was no strategy behind it. It was just building AI automations for the sake of it. You know, like, listen, I want more money here, so build in some automations into my marketing so that I get more money. Well, guys, come on, there's a lot more detail to that, right? So the AI automations, the delegations, the systems, the process mapping, the dashboard, everything makes sense once you've got the vision, okay? That's why I always start with the vision. Doesn't have to take a lot of time, but the vision is so important so we know exactly where we're going, okay? Right, the last one, the chief communicator. Communication complexity increases exponentially with headcount. Not always true, but in standard, when you don't have SOPs and you don't have systems, yes, agreed. So the rhythm of business needs to be determined. You must establish the heartbeat of the company, weekly all hands, quarterly reviews, and annual planning sessions, tacitly, informally. I'd say when you're a 6-figure business, or even a 7-figure business, this is important, but it doesn't need to be so formalized. You know, it's just a waste of time. Agile methodology is actually what I spent a lot of my career doing. So if you guys don't know, I used to be a management and strategy consultant for some of the biggest companies in the world. Nike, Nvidia, Microsoft, Starbucks, Home Office. JD Sports is someone that I'm working with right now. They're one of the biggest e-commerce businesses in the UK. So, like, I have massive respect and I know exactly how to work with these large, complex organizations. But for 6 and 7-figure entrepreneurs, no. You guys can have retrospectives, for example. So what we have in the professional world, in agile practice, is called sprint retrospectives. So a sprint is a 2-week cycle. And essentially, you've got different ceremonies like reviews, retrospectives, daily stand-ups, where you speak and unblock things for your team on a daily basis. There's a bunch of different ceremonies, but if you do want a heartbeat, then you have reviews at the end of every 2 weeks. You have retrospectives, so you know what went well and what can be improved in the second 2 weeks. You look towards what your key deliverables are for the next 2 weeks, right? So you're planning for the next 2 weeks. Now, all of these ceremonies are important. You've got the heartbeat, but it doesn't need to be as formal as this. It can be a lot more informal because you don't want to spend time thinking about admin. You don't want to spend time thinking about how do I get work done. Your job is to just get work done. And if you have an informal heartbeat, it just gets done rather than focusing on things that aren't actually needle movers, right? So I've got standard procedures for how we do have like half-an-hour meetings, a few ceremonies throughout the week, just to make sure, the sprints every 2 weeks, just to make sure that my teams and their teams are getting work done effectively. And then finally, transparency and context. Employees at a scaling business often feel disconnected. Agreed. Your job is to constantly repeat the why behind decisions so that everyone has the context to make good decisions on their own. Of course, guys. And again, this comes all the way back to this, right? The culture keeper, the clarifying the North Star. The vision has so much, and it's such a weird one because no one understands the benefit of the vision. It really is so important, guys. But anyways, the vision then gets broken down. So when I was speaking to you earlier about this sprint goals and the sprint planning and everything, what you do is you break your vision, your 3 to 5 year plan, into 1 year plan. So you've got outcomes. You then break this 1 year plan into monthly milestones, right? Or quarterly milestones. And these are things that can be quantifiably tracked. So the CEO dashboard that we end up building. But your job in each sprint planning is to say, listen, we're working towards this quarterly goal. What is the biggest needle mover in terms of one objective or one big thing that we can try to target this sprint, these 2 weeks, to get us towards there? Then your team's jobs are to work together, like product, finance, marketing, sales. Everyone's job is to work towards that quarterly target. Now, the beautiful thing about Agile is that every 2 weeks you can do a retrospective, right? So if something's not working and the idea is not really working, you can start to slowly pivot. So you have a goal. So let's say this is your quarterly goal, right? And that quarterly goal is connected to your North Star and etc. So you're slowly pivoting. But in the interim, in the day-to-day, your job is to be able to pivot. Not day by day, because that's very chaotic. Week on a sprint by sprint basis, your job is to pivot, keep changing, keep making small changes so that you can actually get towards this quarterly milestone, this quarterly goal, which is then, of course, geared towards this North Star. But your job is to have these milestones and then play in the small gaps in between them, right? That's what the point is. So I don't want you to turn into robots. I don't want you guys to just think this systems. It's not about that. What is really important is building the guardrails, right? Building the guardrails in your day-to-day, in your workflows, in your teams, in order to protect your milestones, your quarterly milestone, and your annual North Star, or your 3 to 5 year North Star, in a guardrail format. So we're just trying to make sure that the vision is so clear, is so intact, so that we're not pivoting, we're not moving in so many different directions that actually stop your business from growing in any direction, okay? So it's just one thing that I think is really important. So I think that's pretty much everything for this video. So let's just see what this last thing is. Focus area is finding early stage. Okay, cool. This is quite cool. So early stage, your focus is to find the product market fit. You are the chief problem solver. You do everything yourself. You are still the problem solver. Come on now. But you're not solving every single problem. Decision making is gut feel and speed. You're hiring generalists, just people that can help and get work done, or even you're not hiring anyone. And the process is just to get it done. Whereas for a scaling stage, according to Gemini, and to some degree, to a majority of degree, I agree, you are now, your goal is to create replicable, predictable growth. You are the designer and team builder, and you are data-driven and collaborative, 100% agree. And you're hiring specialists and leaders, somewhat agree, because you do want people that can deliver better results and better quality towards your outcomes. And your process is to write it down so others can do it. Not so much write it down, but definitely create repeatable processes so that people can follow it, right? And then they can self-optimize, self-actualize whatever the system and the outcome is. Common pitfalls to avoid the Bottleneck CEO. Shall we go over this? Let's just do it anyways. The Bottleneck CEO, refusing to let go of decisions, causing the whole company to slow down to your speed. Whoa, I was about to make a big mistake not going over this. I see so many people go through this mistake, okay? Let go of decisions, but not in a way where it feels risky. Okay, you need to let go of decisions and instead manage outcomes. The person that you let go, or the person or automations, the system that you let go of in order to self-manage itself, you need to be able to make sure they understand what the outcome is and they know that they are tracked by that outcome. So try to align performance and bonuses and incentives around the outcome so that you and them are both aligned in terms of what you need to get out of it. Okay, so don't just let go of decisions just for the sake of it. That's too risky, it's too scary, it's going to cause you anxiety. You're not going to focus on the growth that you need to. You need to align around outcomes. The Seagull manager, flying in, making a mess, disrupting work with new ideas and flying away. I see this a lot with specific types of people. So my offer used to be specific for ADHD entrepreneurs. I see that a lot in them. Try not to do this, guys. You know, and the way you do this is by having that vision, by having your quarterly goals, having your North Star so that you know what you're working towards, and you stop distracting your team every day from different things. Instead, you've got your sprint retrospectives, right? So your retrospective and your planning is where you start saying, listen, we need to pivot a little bit, we need to move, but on a day-by-day basis, you're not going in and causing chaos, okay? You need to let your teams get on with the work, and if you can't do that, then it's because you don't trust them to do the work or because the system that they're following isn't good enough. So that's a conversation for another day, but but then those things need to be optimized for rather than flying in and making a mess, okay? You need a little bit of consistency, just a little bit, in order to make sure that your North Star is being met. And by the way, guys, your North Star can change. Yeah, every year you can change your North Star. Every quarter you can change your North Star. I just advise against it, right? You want a little bit of consistency. You want to make sure that your teams feel like they can structure you, they can follow you, they can follow your structure. Okay, so I advise you not to keep changing it. Try to find a vision that you can stick with. That is a very hard thing for some entrepreneurs, and it's why I work with them to do it. And number 3, neglecting yourself. Scaling is a marathon, and burnout at the CEO level destabilizes the entire organization. Agree. That's why a part of my proposition, or a part of the messaging, is to earn more and work less, right? I want you to be able to recharge. I want you to be able to come back to the business healthy. I want you to be able to have maximum time and energy so that when you are involved in the business, you are making the right decisions, okay? I don't want to destabilize your teams. I don't want you to destabilize your operations, your automations, your systems. And I want you to optimize for you, your business, and your life. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a new style. I actually really enjoyed doing this, just talking directly to the camera rather than just following a script and just standard things like that. So I'd love to know if you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry for the bad camera quality. I'm literally just using my laptop. Maybe if you guys like this, I'll start to use my phone. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do want to learn more about my CEO operating system in the detail, in the way that I have fully just understood and proven that I can guarantee you 20 hours a week back and make you more money, or you get all of your money back, then please feel free to click the link in the description below. I'm more than happy for you to go and check out the video and then book a call, and I can answer any question that you guys have for the CEO operating system and start to build an audit for what's going wrong with your business. How can we scale you to the next level? Thank you very much, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.